Just across the East River from Manhattan, where I live, just over there, is an enchanted wonderland, an international crossroads, a stew pot of neighborhoods filled with the languages, cultures, traditions, and flavors of many lands.
Hey, how you doing?
Morning.
My morning ritual goes something like this. Regular coffee and a donut, maybe a cruller. I'm feeling wild and crazy. But just across the river, the options are endless. The 7 train winds over and through Queens like a main cable. Every stop can seem like another country, another region. Get off at Roosevelt Avenue, and you are going to eat well for sure. Example, this cart sells Ecuadorian food. Hornado, roast pork with sublime, crispy skin straight from heaven.
Crunch, crunch. Oh, that's the sound of victory right there.
Morcilla, blood sausage with potato cakes.
Oh, man, that's looking really good. This is a working class day, but people coming to and from work.
Yeah.
How often do you think the average person eats at one of these things?
A lot of like the day laborers, a lot of the men that are here, they might live in these tiny apartments with a tiny shared kitchen. They can't cook.
Right.
They're not going to go into the restaurants. They don't have time for that. So for them, it might be even more than they're eating on the streets.
Sean Basinski is the director of the Street Vendor Project. Prior to going to law school, he built a pushcart and sold burritos on the corner of 52nd and Park. He founded SVP with a small grant from Yale University Law School. He lives in a tenement walk-up apartment in Manhattan with a bathtub in the kitchen. You know, like most lawyers.
So within like a mile of here,
Yeah.
what would my options be nationality-wise?
It's incredible. I mean, you can have Tibetan street food, and then there's Colombian arepas. You go up into Flushing, and then there's the Chinese barbecue carts. I don't know of any place in New York, maybe even the world or the country, that you can have such diversity on the street.
Matt Shapiro is another lawyer who represents street vendors when they need legal help, which in our nanny state current reality is all too often.
Now, generally speaking, to open up a cart on the street, you need a license.
You have to have a license for yourself, and then you have to have a permit for the cart itself. That's the problem.
At any spot.
Generally speaking, yes, although there's lots of restrictions.
Manhattan is very much the, not my backyard neighborhood in a lot of ways. I mean, for this reason, Manhattan, in my view, is a lot less interesting than Queens.
Right.
This is a wonderland.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what we got here.
You know, they're trying to change it, though. And the more it does change, the more the vendors are threatened, you know?
There's all this talk about cleaning up Roosevelt Avenue. You know what that means?
If you get higher rents, nicer buildings, they're not going to want a streetcar out in front.
That's sometimes the problems that vendors face.
Right.
Even if the spot is completely legal. And we see it all the time, where there's building managers who come out and say, hey, you got to move, can't be here. They even call the police.
So what happens if that happens, when that occurs?
When it was me, the young kid out of college, I was ready for them.
Right.
But if you're an immigrant who doesn't speak any English and is realistically scared, and they tell you to move, well, you're going to move.
In a perfect world, how many of these would there be?
I think the more diverse street food we can have, the better. The more pathways we can provide for people to come and start a business. And hopefully, after 5 or 10 years, maybe they'll have a restaurant, right?
하나님 아버지 은혜를 감사합니다. 오늘 어르신들 귀한 점심 식당을 대하게 하시고 또 즐거운 시간 갖게 하심을 감사합니다. 어르신들 건강하고 행복하게 사시도록 하나님께서 지켜주시고 봉사자들에게 기쁨으로 봉사할 수 있도록 건강도 주시고 즐거운 마음도 주시옵소서. 감사드리며 예수 그리스도의 이름으로 축복하며 기도드리옵나이다. 아멘.
Get lost in Flushing for a while and behold the awesomeness. If you're looking for amazing Chinese food or Korean, just like home, well, Flushing is the place. This joint is high on the list, Gu Shigi.
Cheers.
Not that.
Josh Smookler and Cosme Aguilar are both chefs and restaurateurs operating in Queens. Josh, a Korean man who was adopted and raised by a Jewish family, owns the wildly popular Long Island City restaurant, Moo Ramen.
Did it take off right away? It was successful right away?
Yes, pretty much immediately. I was cooking out of my house. Then we're transporting all to this bagel shop. We served from 7 o'clock to 9:30, 10 seats at a time. It was me in the kitchen, my wife out in the front. And one day somebody texted me and goes, "Congratulations." I go, "For what?" They go, "Pete Rose just gave you #1 ramen in New York City."
So New York Times loves you.
Yeah, and I saw the article and I started crying.
Cosme is the owner of Casa Enrique, also in Long Island City. It's the only Mexican restaurant in New York with a Michelin star.
You didn't even do the smart thing. The smart thing, of course, would be to make shitty Mexican food because we know that Americans will always buy shitty Mexican food. You started making like really sophisticated, really interesting Mexican food. Well, why?
My brother come up with the idea to open a Mexican restaurant. And I told my brother, come on, I'll never cook Mexican food like for a restaurant. So I started cooking for 6 months at home every single day, trying to do different things.
Right.
And finally we opened a Mexican restaurant.
And then you got a Michelin star.
Yeah, for 3 years in a row.
Nice.
Both are fantastic, but tonight we're eating Korean. Gamjatang, pork neck bone soup with rice cakes, pork belly, kimchi, and spicy radish. And kimchi and oysters.
So this dish right here, the gamjatang, was the dish I had about like 3 years ago. It literally transplanted me back to Korea.
Yeah, but how old were you when you left?
When I came to America, I was 6.
Were you raised observant Jew?
Orthodox, yes.
You were raised Orthodox. You still with the program?
No, not at all. I'm eating pork right now.
Man, that's tough. I mean, because Koreans are pork crazy.
Korean food, but I didn't have much of it growing up at all. In fact, kimchi was like shunned from our household because it stunk up the whole house.
Well, it's just not kosher, too.
And it's not kosher either, so they...
With the shellfish in there.
Yeah, but now I still make Korean-style ramen. And then I have a matzo ball ramen. Being raised Jewish, can't help it. I think as cooks, we always gravitate to what our DNA is.
So when are you opening a Korean restaurant?
I don't know anything about Korean food. I just know I like it. I gravitate towards those flavors.
Galbi, short ribs marinated in soy, garlic, and sesame oil, then grilled. Meat candy.
You ever investigate other neighborhoods? The number of immigrants from all over the world, I mean, is extraordinary.
This funny thing now is I have Caucasians working the line.
Yeah.
And then the Asians come in, they go, "Oh, this isn't good. You got a bunch of white guys." I'm like, what?
I'm racist like that, too.
Really?
Yeah, I'm totally like that. If I walk into a sushi restaurant, I make racist assumptions about the place if they're not Japanese.
Do you do the same thing when you go to a restaurant and you see, like, let's say a Korean restaurant,
Right.
and if you only see white people, then what do you think? It's not legit?
Eating at the Korean restaurant?
Yeah.
You want the truth?
Of course I want the truth.
Now for Metro Christian Center.
Some people say it's the most famous place you've never heard of. That's where we are. But when you start getting out to the detail of it, this is historic Neir's Tavern.
Back in the 1820s, when Queens was still mostly farmland and livestock rather than the 7 train was what rumbled down what became Jamaica Avenue, the manager of a racetrack called the Union Course opened a nearby tavern to accommodate the gamblers and layabouts who frequented his track. It was called the Blue Pump Room. In later iterations, it became the Old Abbey, the Union Course Tavern, and finally, Neir's Tavern. The Neir family, German emigres, added a bowling alley, a ballroom, and a hotel after the racetrack closed in 1898 and renamed the place Neir's Social Hall. Today, it's owned by this man, Lieutenant Loy Gordon of the FDNY.
You were born in Jamaica?
It's a funny thing, I'm from the island of Jamaica and I moved to Jamaica, Queens.
Why Jamaica, Queens?
Well, my mom was here.
What did your mom do for a living? What kind of work was she doing?
You know, she didn't have all the education in the world. So you just had to do odds and ends. You had to clean floors and just do whatever she had to do to get things going. I think it's pretty much the similar story of immigrants that come to the United States. They come and work hard because it's the land of opportunity and they find a way to kind of make it out of the rut.
Yeah.
Or at least using that platform to have someone like me, like their offspring, become a little bit more, right, than they were.
Ordinarily, the story is, I'm a regular beer drinker at this joint, and the thought of it disappearing is like unbearable to me. Where am I gonna drink now? But you're not that, that's not your story.
I knew that this place was important, you know? I just felt something special. And being someone that's from Queens, something that's special like this, it shouldn't disappear. It was 3 days from closing down when I walked into the place.
Wow.
The way it's located, someone has to tell you about Neir's Tavern. Someone has to say, you know, it's around the corner, to the left, to the right. And if someone tells you about it, I think they think you're worthy enough to discover such a historic, you know, cool little place.
Now, it's historic for a lot of reasons, not least, in my mind, because the greatest American film ever made was shot here. A lot of it was shot here, right? I mean, it was
about 15%.
Okay, so what was shot? Which scenes were shot here?
It was a very pivotal moment of the movie.
Okay, so that's
and
the moment.
Said,
Let me remember him. Is he right there or is he right here? He's right here.
Yeah.
He just looks over at Maury, and you know he's decided Maury's going.
If Maury's going, might as well just knock everybody else.
Maury was a problem from the beginning. I think any reasonable businessman would have. You know, here's a question. It has nothing to do with anything. You're working for the mob, and you've been having some disagreements with your business partners. Why would you ever get in the front passenger seat when somebody else is sitting in the back? I mean, Paulie made the same mistake in The Godfather. It's always like, you know, that's a bad seat to sit in.
Yeah.
Further out in Queens, the somewhat forlorn-looking but still beautiful Rockaways.
This is Rockaway Park. Further down, you can call it Far Rockaway. There's also Rockaway Beach. That's why they call it the Rockaways and not just Rockaways sometimes.
Right.
There's a lot of different parts to it.
Josmar Trujillo, a writer and local activist.
You from Queens originally?
I was raised in the city, but I lived in Queens for most of my adult life now.
And Rockaway now?
No, so I left here about a year after Hurricane Sandy because the way Sandy hit and the way it kind of, shook people out of where they were, you didn't want to put your family through that again, or the risk of that.
How bad did it get hit out here?
This was like something out of a movie.
Hurricane Sandy pounded the East Coast in 2012, and many communities suffered. But the Rockaways were hit with particular ferocity.
How was the response?
The response from everyday people was good. Like, one of the best things about what happened right afterwards is the way a lot of people came together who lived here, but also how a lot of people kind of came in, pitched in, brought food, brought generators. But, officially, with like the government, the semi-governmental groups, they dropped the ball.
What was the problem?
They weren't ready for it. The Rockaways, by design, has never been a place where there was a lot of good investment or infrastructure anyway, to begin with.
Why? Look, this is what you would call prime oceanfront property, not far from New York City. What's going on?
This was a place historically where the city, and Robert Moses in particular, really used as like a dumping ground for undesirable groups that the city didn't necessarily want to deal with.
Back in the day, the Rockaways were a summer destination for middle-class New Yorkers until better roads and an improved rail system lured them to the beaches of Long Island.
They threw a bunch of public housing projects in here. They sent a lot of the low-income people of the city out here. And it just wasn't a place that historically the city ever took seriously. Since then, we've also had a lot of working-class whites move into more kind of the western end. And so you've kind of seen in the Rockaways just kind of shape out along race and class lines. And the one dynamic that's changed after Sandy was you had a lot more like young urban professional types, like really coming out here. Maybe looking intentionally or not to like Brooklynify the Rockaways.
Right.
Or gentrify the Rockaways. Rockaways called like the Brooklyn Riviera or the Williamsburg Riviera.
Who gets the shaft in a situation like that?
If you're a person who's not a homeowner, if you're a person that's struggling to pay rent, the plans are generally, history has told us, gonna leave you behind. It's interesting because I don't think a lot of people thought that would happen here. When you're on Rockaway, you had this kind of sense of security that you kind of were out in this lazy beach town and like, I would love to come out here and walk on the beach and it'd be just me and maybe two other people for miles and miles, and that was great. Where you won't have that anymore, when there won't be a place in the city for you to be able to have that. Some people may be for it, and I think that might be short-sighted because I think that this might not necessarily involve the same people who are here.
It never does. What's a perfect day in the Rockaways?
Oh, perfect day? Obviously hit the beach, but you don't want to find a place where there's, no sand,
Right.
You want to find a place that's kind of off the beaten path, grab a bite to eat, you maybe, have a couple of drinks at night and watch the waves crash. And we're near the airports, you watch some of the planes fly over, and it's just, it's a different feel. You don't feel like you're in New York when you're out here. When I first came here, I was a city kid. I was used to living the hustle and bustle, the city that never sleeps. When I got here, there's like this tranquility, there's this feel that you're not in the city, and it's great because it makes you feel like you can just sit back and be with your thoughts. As a city kid, it gave me a lot of perspective. So anytime you can come out here and kind of be away from stuff and kind of be, with the water and with your thoughts is a great thing. Yeah.
Is that a $100 bill?
Yeah. I feel dead inside, Lori. This is gonna bring me around.
Keep telling yourself that.
All of it on number 2 to win first. Yeah. Thank you. Gotta be in it to win it, Lori.
All right. If I get $5 on number 5 to win, please.
It's the middle of winter, And there are only a few hardcore racing enthusiasts here.
Right.
Also me and friend and author Lori Woolever.
Here they come.
And a winner. All right, you won your first race.
You know, we didn't win anything, but...
Quite good enough.
I love this place. The ponies, the beer, the looming sense of despair and melancholy. Did I mention they have Jamaican beef patties?
So people like it here because you can get your emotional feel for the horses, and you can look down into the paddock, and people like to sort of see how the horse is behaving.
All right, I smell victory, or is that horse shit? Fourth race, number 2 to win. Oh no!
Yeah.
I need to win in a long shot now. I need to get well. I gotta come back.
Built near the site of a former conduit for the Brooklyn Waterworks that brought water from eastern Long Island to the Ridgewood Reservoir, Aqueduct Racetrack opened in 1894. The glory days of horse racing are long gone, but for those few proud remaining degenerate gamblers with a few bucks and a dream, Aqueduct is still there.
It's a judgment-free zone here, though.
Totally.
It's kind of a come-as-you-are situation.
Yes. I think that's true of Queens in general. And you can kind of fly under the radar, you know? You have not been harassed too much today, right?
No, a guy came up to me. He says, hey, you look like Anthony Bourdain. I said, I wish I had his money. And he said, you're right, that asshole. It was great. It was like the perfect encounter.
That's Queens. Nobody gives a shit.
All right.
Right up on top.
Yes.
Come on, number 2. Keep it, keep it.
It's a close race.
Close it up.
It's a nail biter. Dropped like a stone.
Way to suck. So promising.
No braces for my little girl.
The whole world is in Queens, and like the world as a whole, it is constantly changing. Here in the Jamaica neighborhood, a growing number of immigrants from Africa have put down roots, and with them, restaurants catering to their tastes. Like here at Africana Restaurant.
How you doing? My name is Blessing Usagere. I come from Nigeria, and this one is a Nigerian restaurant. We started in 2000. The first 3 years were really tough. But thank God we're still alive, we're here, we're healthy. My mother had a restaurant in Nigeria for 20 years before I came here. I love to cook. When you come in here, you feel at home. You feel like a mother's land, you know.
This food is really good.
It is very good. And she was worried about it being too spicy. I don't think it's too spicy.
Never a problem for me.
Sarah Khan has made it her mission to find and write about some of these great little off-the-grid places throughout the borough.
You're studying the intersection between food and culture. How did you get to that point?
So I kind of cobbled together a way to travel, learn languages, and eat.
Do you ever worry that by celebrating these communities, you're helping to destroy them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I worry about it.
But, you know, those stories need to be told through what they do, through how they survive.
મારું નામ નિકિતા છે હું અહીંયા સિન્સ 2001 અહીંયા ન્યુયોર્કમાં રહું છું અને હું ઇન્ડિયાથી છું ગુજરાતથી.
Every meal, every dish has a story, often a very personal one, often a story of hardship, separation, difficult times. But when somebody cooks for you, they are saying something. They are telling you something about themselves, where they come from, who they are, what makes them happy.
제 이름은 김태수고 서울에서 1974년도에 퀸스에 와서 살기 시작했습니다.
A whole hell of a lot of people in Queens, the people who make the borough what it is, who make it such a great place to eat and explore, are very far from the places they once called home.